Hi, this is Penny with Evilsizor. Did you file for authority and mess it up? Don't worry, it's a common thing, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to take care of this. These are the most common issues we see with new applications. Granted, the application is not intuitive, so don't feel bad. This happens to a lot of people. So I just want to go through this list and then give you a brief rundown on how to fix it, and maybe you're good. So it just gives you an extra little step to double check to make sure your application is correct at the very beginning of your operation. So number one, did you apply for the right authority type? Believe it or not, this is like number one on my list because most people apply. I wouldn't say most people, but there are a good amount of people that apply for freight forwarder when they didn't really understand what the definition meant, and they applied for it anyway. I'll show you how to fix that in a moment. Number two, the name. We see a lot of issues with the name, and we're going to talk about that. Are there just minor details? You just need to update your MCS 150, but everything else is good. Do you just need to file the BOC and insurance because you did a stellar job on the application? Or I'm good. I've got everything under control. The most common mistake that I see is people filing for a freight forwarder. I get it. There's a box on there that says I'm going to forward freight. If you were intending to be a motor carrier, this is not what you wanted to apply for. You wanted to apply for an MC number. When you apply for a freight forwarder number, you get an FF number, not an MC number. I want to read this definition and ask you if this is what you intended to apply for. A freight forwarder is a company that serves as an intermediary between transportation companies, carriers, that import and export goods and the businesses that need them. So that could be the shippers or the brokers. Freight forwarders manage every aspect of the transportation process, from storing goods before shipment to ensuring they make it through customs. They don't handle the movement of the goods themselves, but they establish relationships with the companies that do, so they can plan each step of every shipment on a client's behalf. Freight forwarders work with transportation companies that ship products by road, rail, water, and air. So ask yourself, when you started out your application, do you want to be a motor carrier because you've got a truck and you want to go across state lines? You might want to go coast to coast. Or are you going to take possession of the goods and redistribute and have a little different function? So just remember, a freight forwarder is not a motor carrier, not in any fashion. So if you applied for authority and you received an FF number, which means freight forwarder, that's not the same thing as a motor carrier. Now maybe you did want to be a freight forwarder. You've got a warehouse. You've got plans on handling imports and exports and things of that nature. That's great. You've applied for the right one. But I see 99% of the time, most people do not apply. They just don't understand the application. The next most common mistake is the name. The name is important on your application. And if it doesn't match the Secretary of State, you've got to fix this in the beginning because it's just going to cause problems. You need to have the name match your title, match your IRP. It needs to match your authority, your IFTA. It needs to match everything. Everything needs to be so solidified and so matching, as it were. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some issues. And so some common things that I see is, I have some examples here below. Like people will apply for authority and just say Royston Trucking. Well, is that an incorporation? Is that an LLC? Is it a sole proprietor? If it's a sole proprietor, it should have a name, a personal name in front of it, like Penny Royston, doing business as Royston Trucking. Now that would be correct. Now the next common thing we see is Royston Trucking doing business as no. Well, this was a field that should have been left blank if you don't have a trade name. I have seen weird things in here. I have seen people put their date of birth thinking the DBA meant date of birth. I've had people put in their title, so it'll say like Royston Trucking doing business as truck driver. That's not correct. I've had people put their social security number. I've seen people put their EIN in there, just not understanding that. And realize that's a part of your name. So if you don't have a DBA, which a lot of people don't, it's not required, then just leave that blank. But it is something we've got to fix because your authority is going to read Royston Trucking doing business as no. So there's something else to look for. And then the other thing I see is like an incorporation, then doing business as a personal name. Now that personal name doesn't need to go in that DBA field. It doesn't need to go anywhere except as the owner of the account. So it really should read Royston Trucking LLC or Royston Trucking Inc. Whatever extension that you've filed for with the IRS or the Secretary of State as well. So be sure to look at your name with the FMCSA and see if it's correct. Also, you need to make sure it matches the SAFER. Now remember, the FMCSA has two systems. One is the L&I, the licensing and insurance, which shows all of the insurance, the filings, the BOC filing. That's just your initial application. The SAFER side shows your trucks, the details, what you're hauling. And so you have to work together with those systems and they need to match. Okay, so let's say your application's fine. You just need to do an MCS 150 update. Now why this doesn't happen automatic, I'm not sure, but there's a few things you need to go in and take care of to get like the carrier VMT outdated notification off of there. So we can help you with that, or you can get your PIN. Be sure to get your DOT PIN. That's so important. And you can go to the SAFER and there'll be instructions on how to do that. And then just go in. The one thing that you really need to check is the number of drivers, the number of vehicles. A lot of times you'll see one driver, no, a lot of times you'll see one truck, 4 drivers. And I understand how that happens. A lot of people don't because they're just entering the information in the little boxes the way they think it should be. So that's one thing. Look at the drivers, look at the number of vehicles, and then you need, I don't know why, but you've got to put at least 1 mile in the mileage field. Even though you haven't gone anywhere yet, it just takes that carrier VMT outdated notification off of your record. All right, so let's say your application is fine. You apply for exactly what you wanted. That's wonderful. That's awesome. And you might need to complete your filings. So to complete your filings for a carrier, even a freight forwarder and a broker, you would need to file the BOC and a UCR. And then depending on if you're a broker, you need to file a bond. If you're a freight forwarder, also need to file a bond. If you're a freight forwarder with vehicles, then you need to file some insurance. And if you're a carrier and that's what you want it to be, and that's how you want to run your operations, then you need to file the BOC, the UCR, and the insurance. We can help you with all of that. And then one thing we also recommend is to get the authority letter on the grant date. It's on our order form. And that just benefits you because you've got it day one. You don't have to wait till it comes in the mail, maybe 4 to 7 days later. So that's what the authority letter is about. If you're a carrier, you're going to need that to put in your broker packet. And they're going to ask for a copy of the authority letter. So you might not want to wait if you can get going right away. And you can be in this category. I'm good. I've applied for my authority. I've got all of my requirements on file. Congratulations. That is amazing. All right, so in summary on how to fix your authority, it's a good idea to go ahead and look at your account, find your need. You can call us. We'll be happy to go through that with you. We might say, you're good, just like I said before. Or I might see a couple of things that you might need to take care of. Or you might want to get your authority fixed. Just get it correct right out of the gate. You can complete our application for help. You can go to fixmyauthority.help and we'll be glad to take care of that for you. And then you're ready to move on. You've got your authority fixed. That's good. You don't have to worry about anything and you can get on with your business. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully your application is great and you don't have to worry about anything, but it's always a good idea to go back and double check. Give our office a call. We'll be happy to look on the L&I and the SAFER system for you and make sure that everything's good and give you our recommendations. So I hope you have a wonderful day and talk to you soon. Bye.